They'll call this the cleverest night in history. I wake to war drums in a stranger's tent. Winter on the Yangtze, the eve of red cliffs. 1,000 ships wait, chained so they can't rock. One floating fortress, an army to swallow the south. And it all depends on a wind that hasn't come. I have one day. Don't be on the water when it burns. Two uneasy armies share this Camp Sun Quan's navy, Liu Bei's survivors, allied like drowning men. An old cook takes me for a runaway and pushes millet at me. Here, useful is the only passport. Everywhere, the patient religion of war arrows counted, blades whetted, every strap pulled tighter. They're not heroes yet, whatever the stories say, just cold, quiet, not counting the enemy ships. A single drum keeps the camp heartbeat. No one needs telling what tomorrow is. So I copy the others' carry, stack, head down. History is mostly frightened people, waiting. In the command tent, two clever men bend over the maps while an army waits to see if clever is enough. Zhu Yu, their commander, has the terrible calm of a man who's already decided to gamble everything. A strategist names the enemy's flaw. The ships are chained together, and chained ships can't flee a fire. I'm only refilling a jug, but I see the plan before they do. Burn the fleet they tied together. One problem remains, and it's huge. They need a south wind in dead winter when it only blows from the north. But fire needs arrows, and they are short. So the commander demands the impossible, 100,000 in 3 days. Before dawn, the strategist calls for fog, and the river answers so thick the water vanishes, and the world shrinks to the length of an arm. Boats walled with straw drift into the white no army aboard, only scarecrows sailing straight at the enemy, then turning to wait. Across the water, the northern fleet sees shapes loom in the fog and panics, and 10,000 archers loose everything they have, blind. The arrows fall like black rain and bury themselves in the straw by the thousand, harming no one at all. And I understand no one is attacking. They are harvesting. Every wasted arrow will come back for them. The boats come home bristling, 100,000 arrows gathered for free, and I laugh out loud with the soldiers from pure disbelief. Remember those chained ships? Cow's men were northern horsemen who had never sailed, and a seasick army cannot fight a war. His fix was iron. He chained the hulls together until the decks held still as dry land, and doomed every ship that now could never run. On the far bank, their warlord counts 1,000 ships and 100,000 men, and makes the oldest mistake in war. He decides the battle is already won. In our own camp, a gray old general is dragged out and beaten before the whole army, on the commander's order. It looks like a man turned into an enemy. But I know this page. The beating is theater. The old general asked for it himself, so the enemy will believe he has every reason to turn traitor. That night, a single letter slips across the black water. A wronged old soldier, offering to change sides, asking only to be welcomed in. And now I see the whole shape of the trap. A fleet chained so it cannot run, a door held open by a lie. All that is missing is the wind. On a high bank, they raise an altar to the wind, and a man in robes asks the winter sky to break its own rules. The soldiers watch the hanging banners, and on every face faith and fear weigh exactly the same. I know how this ends, I have read it, and still my stomach knots, because knowing does not make the waiting any shorter. Then near dusk, a banner lifts, then another. The wind has turned, and it is coming from the southeast. A squadron sails toward the enemy under a flag of surrender, low and heavy, looking like defectors come to change sides. But below their decks, there are no soldiers, only reeds, dry brush, and oil, waiting for a single torch. They are not attacking the fleet. They are letting the fire walk right up to it, welcomed in. On the bank, I grip a cold rail and watch the small dark shapes cross the black water. No one is breathing. At the last moment, the surrender ships erupt, and the wind shoves the fire straight into the chained fleet. The river catches. 1,000 ships that cannot scatter become one long wall of flame. The night goes orange smoke, screaming, men leaping into a river that is itself on fire. I came for a day in history. History is a wall of fire reflected in my eyes, and I am ashamed of how beautiful it is. Against the blaze, the small black shapes of an army that marched south, certain it could not lose. Dawn comes gray and full of smoke. The river that burned all night is a field of charred ribs and ash. The camp does not cheer for long. A victory this size is still made of people, and everyone is counting who is missing. The books made this a clever trick, 3 neat paragraphs. Standing in the ash, it feels enormous and final and very far from a paragraph. A boy launches a tiny paper boat onto the burned water for someone who will not be coming back. By noon, the current will carry the ash away, and the South will call this a beginning, the night 3 kingdoms became possible. I do not belong to this victory or this grief, but tonight, on the bank where the river burned, I was here.